Hey guys, what's going on? Misha here. Today's video, we're going to be getting very deep into tonality, right? The thing is, in sales, everybody basically says the same thing. Everyone sells the same stuff, but tell me how you can get two people selling the exact same thing, following the same process, but one person makes 10 times more, right? The difference is tonality. How do they say the words that they're saying, right? How do they use their voice to convey a different message, okay? I've spent the last 5 years in this office. I've done millions over the phone. I've trained hundreds of people at this point on doing the exact same thing. And I've come up with 5 distinct tonalities that I use over and over again to get my way on the phones. And in today's video, this is actually a recording of a private training that I did where I go deep into each and every one of them and I show you how you can apply it on your sales calls right away. Get your pen and paper out and let's jump in. Cool. Let's rock. Couple different tonalities. I want to get really tactical with you guys today. So keep up. All right. There's a few tonalities. I was taking some time. There's a few tonalities that you're basically going to be hitting on every single call, right? The way that you're going to be able to tap into your prospect's emotion, everything that we were just talking about earlier, is with your tonality, right? If you're just having like a dry conversation and you're just talking at your prospect, you're not really going to tap into anything, right? It's all surface level. You're not going to get anywhere. You're going to stay just like at the top. You're not going to get deep. No emotions are really going to come out, and nobody's going to be ready to move, right? Again, high ticket sales. What is our goal? Our goal is to meet people for the first time, complete strangers, right? Figure out where they are, where they want to be, give them a solution, and we're trying to have a totally transformational conversation with somebody, right? We're trying to get somebody to make a massive change in their life, a change that they've been struggling to make up until this point, right? That they haven't been able to make up until this point, and do something that they've probably never done before, right? To spend a lot of money on the first call, right? In majority of cases, right? So the way it's going to be happening, the way it's going to happen is with a lot of the stuff we talk about today, right? Okay, so first things first, I was talking about this with we had a closer was starting his first day was like on Saturday or Friday, I believe it was. I was listening to some of his call recordings, and very first thing that was off was the intro. Okay, so a lot of the times we say, you know, high enthusiasm, high energy on intro, right? Enthusiasm and energy are two very different things. Okay, so the very first tonality, I kind of just gave it my own names. I'm calling it the casual slash chill tonality. Okay, the goal early sales call, like up until like intro agenda situational, right? Really, the goal here is to just bring our prospects guard down, right? A lot of people hop on calls and like they have PTSD from other you know, salespeople that they've spoken to before, right? People who don't really treat them like a human, right? And people are very defensive sometimes early on. Sometimes they're not very defensive, but again, this is where you want to read your prospect, right? If you get on a call with someone and you can tell, okay, yeah, like this guy's got his guard up, this guy's defensive, I would lean further into the casual slash chill tonality, right? If they seem like they're you know, vibing, they're having a good time, not a big deal, you know, I would still keep that tonality, right? But I would lean into it even more so when I have somebody who's super tense. And I'll give you guys a couple examples. First of all, let's talk about like what this actually is. Um, it's going to be conversational, totally detached from the outcome, and this is used to bring our prospects guard down, right? Very simple. So even I was listening to this new closer, right? I was listening to his intro. He would start out his calls. He was like, on his intro, it was weird. It's like I knew it right off the bat. Like I just had to hop on a call with him. Yo, we gotta deal with this. And we like role played out the intro like 10 times for 30 minutes before I let him back on the phone. He was like, hey, so I'm just reaching out regarding this thing that you purchased. You got a few minutes? Yeah. So like the reason why I reached out is I wanted to see how we could help you with this. Do you have a few minutes? Like it was like really intense, right? And I think he misunderstood energy or sorry, he misunderstood enthusiasm for like volume and intensity, right? And all we practiced for 30 minutes was just this casual, chill tonality, where it's like, rather than, hey, I noticed you picked up this thing and I wanted to see how we could help you out. Do you have a few minutes? My freaking vein is popping out as I'm doing that. It's like, hey Joe, I noticed you picked up this thing like a couple hours ago. I just wanted to see how we can help you out. You got a few minutes? Right?
Yeah,
Do you see how it's detached? As opposed to, hey, so I noticed you picked up this thing right here, and I wanted to see how I can help you out. Do you have a few minutes? Right? It's like that's like I'm trying to get something from you, right? Like that's Jordan Belfort, like the freaking, cold call, right? Like super salesy, like you can hear it, and it's like right away, guard goes up, right? So even in the first sentence that I say, it's like I want to be casual, chill, and detached. I don't give a fuck where this call goes. I just noticed you picked up this thing, and I kind of wanted to see if I can help you out. Do you have a couple minutes to talk right now? Casual, chill, detached, and conversational, right? I'm thinking about the human being on the other end of the phone rather than thinking about my agenda and like what I want to get done on the call. Right. So like even we can bring this out to situational, right? So when we're in situation and we're trying to get down to our prospects, what they got going on, we're trying to figure out like what their pains and their problems might be. um, a lot of the times I see it's like, okay, so hey, tell me about what you got going on. Yeah, I work this job and this is what's going on and blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Tell me more about that. What would you like to know? Yeah, tell me more about you. You said you don't like your job. Like, tell me more about that. Right? Like again, like it's not really inviting, right? Um, as opposed to the casual, detached, conversational, where it's like, oh shit, dude, damn, like that's crazy. Like you're out here freaking working 12 hours a day, working this desk job. Like tell me more. Like what's so bad about it? Right? Like guys, like that simple freaking switch is gonna it's just instantly just drops their guard and they feel like they're just talking to a friend. They're gonna feel comfortable just opening up to you. Guard goes down, and then the rest of your sales call becomes so easy. Right? It's such a subtle thing, but it's like when you're in situational, yes, we're trying to find pain points, we're trying to find problems, absolutely. But it's like the way that you're going to get to them is just by like not caring about them, or like not like even trying to find them, like just knowing that they're there, and then just like naturally going with the conversation and letting them come out. Right? Is this making sense? Okay, so honestly, I mean, this might seem simple to some of you. This took me a while to figure out. Like this took me a good like a year to just get chill and just drop the anxiousness or whatever, and just like kick back, just be confident, just be like, hey man, like it's like what do you have going on? Tell me more. Okay. And you said you've been there like 5 years now. Okay, nice man. How do you like it? Yeah, it's okay. It's pretty good, pretty happy with it. Okay, so like if you're like super stoked about your situation, like why are we on this call today? Oh, well, it's actually because like, yeah, it's okay, but like I want to do more. Okay, yeah, do you want to do more? Tell me more about that. Right? This is gonna be the casual chill intro agenda. Agenda, not really. Intro for sure. Agenda's got to be like, okay, cool. Hey, so like what I want to do here on this call, I really just want to start out with a couple questions just to see if and how we can actually help you out here. And then, if I feel like I can, I'll show you how. And if not, I'll do my best to point you in the right direction. Sound good? Okay, beautiful. Yeah, dude, just kick us off with a bit of a background on yourself, and we'll take it from there. Right? Do you see how like I switched my tonality from a little bit more assertive, a little bit more authoritative, to casual, chill, conversational, right? Just like that, right? So I mean, you want it with the agenda, like you don't want to be too chill because again, we're trying to keep control of the call. We're trying to let our prospect know like how things are going to go, and you know, um, position ourselves as an authority as well. But you're not just gonna like be super hardcore authority figure. while you're trying to get to know them, right? So cool. That's going to be the first one. Casual chill. That's tonality number one. Excuse me. I got one, two, three, four, five tonalities to share with you guys today. So let's keep it going. Two is going to be the confused slash curious tone. Okay. So again, right? Even kind of going back to what I was just talking about, um, people like naturally they're always going to be a little bit defensive, right? Stranger danger, like around a random person, like nobody's just going to start spilling the beans and start, telling you their whole sob story and life story like right away. Some people will actually, but like most people won't. Um, right? Why? Because again, they feel like you have some kind of hidden agenda. Like they understand that they're on a sales call here and that, the whole distrust in salespeople, where that comes from is because people understand that salespeople are incentivized when people buy, right? So therefore, people don't trust salespeople because they're like, oh, this guy's just gonna, do anything and try to put on a face and try to be somebody that he's not just to make me buy, right? It's not honest, basically, right? That's why people have trust problems with salespeople, right? So it's like, okay, sure. I mean, like makes sense, like that's valid. When we're looking for, I mean, the purpose of this tonality, confused and curious, this is going to be to dig deeper on core motivations. Okay, this is going to be used in situation, vision, and also in challenge, right? Um, Again, just like the simple like, yeah, like I'm working this job right now, and it is what it is. And like I'm kind of thinking, like I want to make a change, I want to do something new, have a bit more freedom in your life, in my life, and kind of check out some of all this, right? And you're like, okay, nice. So like, why do you feel like you need more freedom? That's where the defensiveness comes from. Because as well, like, dude, I just want more freedom. Like, what's your problem? Right? Um, do you guys see this? Like it's that's why your prospects are dry with you. That's why you can't dig deeper. Because the other thing with this tonality is this is used to get to core motivations, showing good intent, right? Like showing that you actually care about them, right? Like showing them that you actually give a fuck. And you don't just look at them as a phone number and a name, but like you actually see them as a human being, right? And like you're trying to understand their problems, right? So that's where, leading with curiosity. Curiosity is going to be like a lot of the initial like questions that you're asking, right? So like, hey, like tell me more about what you got going on. Oh, nice, man. So you, oh, no way, you're a pilot? That's crazy. So like what's like the lifestyle of a pilot like? Like what's, I mean, take me through that. Yeah, yeah, it's this and that and this and that, and it's all crazy. Oh, holy shit. And like, I mean, and you've been doing it for 10 years. Like, does that ever get old? Like being in so many different places all the time, or like do you still enjoy it? Right? Because I'm genuinely curious, right? I'm speaking to a freaking pilot. I'm speaking to someone who has a completely different life experience than me. I'm like, I want to learn about it. Genuinely, right? Like we spend all this time talking to strangers, like we might as well like learn something, right? Um, a great trait of a top producing closer, and just the high performing individual in general, just someone who has great relationships is curiosity, right? Like you're curious about people. You want to learn more about people. That's how people are going to like you, by the way, is when people like people who like them, if if you have someone who's like a big fan of yours, even if like you don't really have a relationship with them, like there's part of you, hey, like, yeah, this guy likes me, I like myself too, so like cool, I like this guy, you know um so yeah, just as a byproduct, if you show your prospect you're curious, this is where the curious tone comes in, right? So it's like, hey, like tell me more about that, right? What's that like? Hey, so like just out of curiosity, like what made you want to get into, roofing sales, like of all things, like how did you land there? Right. So that's the curious tone is kind of how you're going to get a lot of the initial stuff, right? The confused tone is how you're going to get deeper, but like they're kind of the same thing. The confused tone is going to be like, okay, wait, so you said like what you're doing right now, like you're pretty happy, like you have pretty solid like work-life balance and everything, but like you're saying you feel like you want more freedom. Like what do you mean by that? It's like I'm confused. It doesn't make sense. Right. And like one of the big things with tonality, by the way, is like your facial expressions, right? Your facial expressions, your posture, your hands, like you could be on a phone call, right? But at the same time, it's like use your facial expressions, use your hands and your body language, right? And it's going to let you use your tonality a little bit better, right? Confused slash curious, right? So, hey, when you say this, like, what do you actually mean by that? Right. And then naturally, like people kind of just have this thing where if like everybody wants to be understood, right? If I make a point, like right now, I want to be understood, right? I want you guys to understand what I'm saying, right? This is definitely one of those settings where I want to make sure we're on the same page. If someone if and all of you with your cameras on, right? If one of you guys is like, huh? And like you're confused, like I see that, by the way. I'll see that and then I'll double down on whatever point that I'm making and try to explain it in another way because it's like naturally it's like I want my point to be understood, right? I don't want to just be talking and for people just to lose me, right? If your prospect and even for you guys, like when you guys are on a sales call and like you're explaining, hey, this is why this thing is so important to me, and someone's like, huh, like that's not really like making sense. Like what do you actually mean by that? You're like, oh, well, it's like and then you'll add more, right? And then once we get our prospects talking, once we get them explaining what's actually going on, the information and everything that's actually behind the scenes, now is where like, we can start working on building a change, right? So the confused slash curious tonality, probably one of the, yeah, like I think from what I've seen from a lot of you guys, that's probably out of the five that we talk about today, like that's a big one that I would definitely be honing in on. That's gonna make digging deeper a lot easier. It's gonna allow you to build relationships with people quicker. Like even just in real life, by the way, right? Like I would highly recommend you guys practice the confused slash curious tone on strangers at freaking Starbucks, right? Like vanilla freaking decaf latte, huh? That's an interesting choice, whatever, right? Practice it. It makes talking to strangers a lot easier. Um, cool. You guys with me so far? Beautiful. Awesome. Let's keep going. All right, the next tonality here, and this is every tonality we kind of go, it's kind of like in order of what you're going to use it for the most part. By the way, confused slash curious, let me just add one more thing to that, because we kind of talked about it in the situational context. I think really important that we talk about it in the vision and the challenge context as well, right? Sometimes you guys struggle figuring out, hey, like what's really the core vision, right? Sometimes you talk to someone and they say like, hey, I want to make 10 grand a month with this new business, right? And then you're like, oh, so like what would that do for you? And then you get nothing, and then you're stuck there, right? Um, who here struggles with that? Like who here had that happen like today or this weekend? Where like they're in vision and like they're just kind of stuck and they can't get past that. They can't figure out why this person wants to make 10 grand a month. Nobody, huh? I highly doubt that. I've seen it live on your guys' calls. Um, yeah. So like even here, it's like if you genuinely don't understand what your prospect is working towards, it's like you should naturally be confused, right? Like let's say it's a move towards buyer, right? Let's say it's somebody who's like in a pretty solid position right now, like they're in a good spot, they run a business, good work-life balance, they seem happy, they seem content and fulfilled, and everything seems pretty good. Like when I'm in vision, I'm like, hey man, like honestly, like I'm kind of struggling to understand like why, you really want to do this. Like, is there something that you're working towards, like something that's, you'd be able to accomplish with all of this, or like what would you say it is? I'm like, I don't fucking know what this guy's motivation is. Like, I don't know what this guy's vision is. Like, I'm freaking stuck here. Right. Again, when you use that confused tonality, they're gonna want to fill in the gap. They don't want you to be confused, right? Especially if you can do it genuinely. Yeah, Wayne, quick question.
Yeah, it's probably a silly question, but when you're doing that confused in vision, because you're more upbeat, are you still confused upbeat as opposed to, being confused at a lower level is what I mean.
Don't worry
Because
about upbeat. Don't worry
there
about
you
upbeat
sound
or whatever. Don't worry about that. Just worry about the being confused.
okay.
Like upbeat or not, like if anything with vision, like I don't want to be like, hey, so like Wayne, like what are your goals with this, man? Like what are your dreams? What do you want to accomplish? Like that's weird, right? You're not going to take me
Yeah.
seriously. And you're not going to whatever you tell me, you're not even going to take it seriously if I'm all upbeat and like jolly, right? Like I'd rather be like, hey Wayne, walk me through some of your goals. Like what are you actually thinking with this? Right? Because I want you to take your goals seriously, right? So I don't know if I'd take the super upbeat approach. Um,
Okay.
more consultant, right? With vision.
Okay.
Um, right? People want to feel, some people aren't even confident they can get to those goals themselves, right? So like you gotta move with confidence right there. And let them know that you could actually help them. Um, cool. So yeah, I mean the confused, curious, and vision, right? Even in challenge, right? So like, hey, dude, like I'm kind of struggling to understand like what's been holding you back from even like trying something, right? Okay, and like you mentioned, you tried this before. Like, why do you think it didn't work out, right? Versus like, hey, so like, hey man, let me ask you, what's been holding you back from making this change? Like, every freaking closer out there already has that on their script, by the way. What's been stopping you from making this change? You know? Meanwhile, half these freaking high ticket closers out there are making less than like 3 grand a month, you know? Um, it's how you say that, right? So yeah, cool. Let's move on. Okay. Emotional. All right. So we've talked about the casual and chill, right? Just to drop their guard, right? Bring the tension down. We've talked about confused and curious to get our prospect to open up about some of their core motivations without like being weird about it, just by being genuinely curious and having good intentions. When it comes to the emotional one, okay, so this is going to be used. This is going to be used in situation as well. The emotional. Um, it'll be used in challenge and consequential also. Okay. Um, the emotional tonality. This is used to let our prospect sit on their pain. Right. Period. That's what it's used for. So early on, situational, right? Like, damn, man, like that's crazy. You're saying you're out here doing freaking 14-hour shifts and you got 3 kids, like, damn, I mean, how's that been on you and your family, right? It's like I feel their pain. It's like, yeah, man, like yeah, that sucks. If someone just gave me like some story of some shit that they've gone through, I'd be like, yeah, damn, bro, like that's tough, man. That's tough. Like that. It sounds like that's a lot on your shoulders. How you been holding up, right? I might just get a little bit softer right here, right? Maybe with emotional, it's more like I don't know. I'm not like you don't want to be like freaking crying on the call, right? Like I think you still need to keep an element of like stoicism and control, right? You don't want to be like, man, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, man. Like, that's terrible. right? You don't want to be like weird again, right? But like just dropping your tone and just like pausing and letting some of it sit. Someone's like, let's say we start casual and chill. Yeah, man, it's like just give me some background, give me the rundown. Like, what do you got going on? Right? Yeah, dude, like I was actually laid off, 3 weeks ago. I was working for this company for past 10 years. And like things have got kind of rough in the economy, and like I knew this was layoffs were going to happen, but all of a sudden it hit me out of nowhere, and like, it's just put a lot into perspective. And like I'm realizing that X, Y, and Z, and boom, boom, boom. I'll be like, wow, damn, man. Damn. And like you said like you kind of knew that this was coming, right? Like curious, confused. You said you kind of knew that this was coming, but like what actually happened? Yeah, like it was just, some shit went down, and blah 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 and whatever. And like, yeah, like now I got a freaking my wife is pregnant, and I got my mortgage payment coming up, and I'm worried, and like I just don't know what to do. And then I saw your guys' advertisement, and like now here I am, right? Um, with a situation like that, I'm not gonna say that I can relate to that. Like that's a tough situation, and I'm not gonna act like I can relate to that either. I used to make that mistake because I thought that like I would have to feel somebody's pain and understand somebody's pain for me to build some kind of a connection with them. But like if you can't understand somebody's pain, like don't try to. Like it's just like pause, right? Sit, just let it be there, right? Just like let it hold, be respectful of it, right? Like it's some deep shit, right? A situation like that, so like we're gonna drop our tone, we're gonna speak a little bit softer, like, wow, man, that's crazy. It seems like it's been a very hectic couple weeks here. um how do you plan on getting out of this, right? um let's say we're in challenge, right? So we can use this in situational, we can use this in challenge, where it's like, hey man, so like what's actually been stopping you from doing something about this, right? I might ask this question knowing that nothing has been stopping them from doing anything about it, right? Like I'm literally, so in challenge, right, we spoke about we can go confused or we can go emotional, right? I'm gonna go emotional when I know my prospect is basically they've been getting in their own way, right? Like when I can kind of read between the lines and I can see that like it's just been internal stuff, and it's just been, beliefs or whatever, right? And like I'll be like, hey, so like, what's been stopping you from doing something about this? Why? Because I want them to say, man, like honestly, it's just been me. Like I just my mindset and this and that. I've been lazy, and like right, like I want to have a little like heart to heart right there, right? If you can in challenge, if we can give our prospect like permission just to get real, and just kind of like talk about like what's actually up, then they will get real, right? And then if we can get there where like prospect takes accountability, and they're like, yeah, like it's honestly, it's like I can make 1,000 excuses here, but it's really just me. Like I've tried it in the past. I didn't really get serious about it, and this and that. Okay, awesome. It's like, well, like not awesome, but now it's like the first freaking step in Alcoholics Anonymous. Not that I'm a part of it, but if I was, I'd be anonymous so you guys wouldn't know. But like the first step in Alcoholics Anonymous is like admitting that, like, yeah, like I'm a freaking alcoholic and I have a problem, right? A lot of people are complete full-blown alcoholics, but like they just won't admit it, right? And until you admit it, nothing changes, right? Like that's the whole reason why, like that's like step number one, right? Um, same thing, same thing with this to a different extreme, right? Emotional. I want to have a little heart to heart with my prospect, right? Like, hey, like, man, like what's been stopping you from doing something? Soft, quieter, speaking a little bit slower, giving my prospect permission to open up, right? Consequential, same thing, right? Hey, and like, man, like, let me ask you, like, what happens if, like the stuff you're telling me about, the mindset, the beliefs, the discipline, like what happens if none of that stuff changes and you just stay the same? Like, how do you plan on, you know, fulfilling your potential and doing the things that you told me about? Right? It's like, it's kind of a rhetorical question, you know, like there's no answer to that. But the only way that you're going to be able to ask a question like that is with that, you know, emotional, a bit more empathetic, right? A bit softer of a tone, right? Cool. Make sense? Let's keep going, guys. We got two more. We got two more. Let's keep it pushing. Okay, next one is going to be empowering, right? So there needs to be a point in our calls, especially if we're going through all of this, right? Especially if our prospect just told us about a bunch of pain that's going on. There needs to be a point where like we lift them up, right? There needs to be a point where we get our prospect like ready to go, like ready to move, ready to do something about this, right? We just spent 10 minutes getting them to think about their problem and like why they haven't made a change, right? And getting them to feel it and like understand like, hey, yeah, like I got to do something about this, right? After we've gone through all of that, it's like now we got to lift them back up, right? Like we want to put our prospect in a position where they're ready to go. They're ready to go do something. They're ready to go freaking take on the world, right? And the thing is like that's something that needs to be infectious, right? This is why I always say it's all internal, right? It all starts internally. You know, like you got to be on that mode. Like it's got to be genuine, right? So like if I'm talking to my prospect and he's like, yeah, whatever, like challenges and limiting beliefs, and I just haven't taken action, I'll be like, okay, hey, let me ask you, Mr. Prospect, you ready to put all that shit to the side and step into the person that you're trying to become? Yeah, man. Yeah, I am. Okay, good, bro. Because here's the thing. I've been in this space for X, Y, and Z years. I've seen people start from way more unfortunate situations than you have and turn everything around. Right? The reality is, dude, is like you're literally one skill set away from completely changing everything. You put your head down for 6 months, full focus, go all in on it. You're not going to recognize the person that you are today. Let me ask you, Mr. Prospect, are you at a place in your life where you're ready to take massive action and make some shit happen here? Or are you going to keep, you know, falling victim and staying in the same situation that you're already in? Right? Empowering, right? As I'm trying to get them excited, right? I'm trying to be like, hell yeah, like let's fucking go. Right? So this is gonna be empowering is gonna be gaining commitment and presentation. Okay. We're going to talk about the presentation here in a second. We spoke about that a lot on Friday. But like, especially gaining commitment, right? Like when you put a challenge in front of somebody, your ideal client for whatever your offer will be, if you put a challenge in front of them, they should be like, hell yeah, like, let's go. Right. You do not want to beat around the bush with that. Right. A lot of salespeople, they try to like dance around, you know, like the elephant in the room or different like problems or challenges or whatever, right? If I'm speaking to somebody with like a crazy ass schedule, working a lot, big family, right? Family guy, working a lot. How's he going to find time for this business? Hey, well, that's the exact same reason why he's starting the business is because he doesn't have any time to do the things that he wants to do, right? The amateur salesperson and also like the piece of shit salesperson would tell that guy, oh yeah, like no problem. Like it just, you know, find some time, like 30 minutes a day, like here and there. Can you find some time on the weekend to like, you know, work on this thing? Okay, perfect. Yeah, no problem. Right? They do some bullshit like that. You're not going to close a lot of deals like that. You're not going to raise any belief like that. And it also makes you a piece of shit because you're lying to your prospects. Right? I prefer to take the opposite approach. I will tell my prospect, hey, I want you to know something, man. You said your goal here is to make 20 grand a month, right? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever brought in 20 grand a month? Have you ever brought in 10 grand a month? Okay, cool. Then what that means that this will be one of the hardest things that you've ever done in your life. Right? This is going to be the most challenging thing. There will be resistance. There will be highs. There will be lows. Let me ask you this, Mr. Prospect. Are you at a place in your life where you're ready for that? Like, do you really feel confident that, you know, you want to do this and you're up for the challenge? That, I think that gets people excited or it gets the right people excited. You know, the losers, like the losers in life, the people who consistently lose and who don't get the things that they want, they see a challenge and then they back down from it, right? The people who win see a challenge and they rise above it, right? So like with gaining commitments, right? Listen, Mr. Prospect, I know you mentioned that you got a crazy schedule, and I get it. Family comes first, and you still got to clock in at the 9 to 5. Let me ask you a question. How can we find 1 to 2 hours, six days a week in your schedule where we can get you on a laptop working on this business? Let's come up with a plan here, right? It's empowering, right? You guys hear the tone. I'm getting excited about it. I'm getting jacked up about it because I want to help my prospect, right? Um, things like this. Okay. Let me see what else do I have? Even aside from that, like you could even go like with vision as well if you want. I don't love it because sometimes it can come across as like kind of preachy. But like sometimes if we just want to like motivate our prospects, right? Like sometimes you'd be like, hey man, listen, and like, you know what? Like it's not even about the 20 grand a month. Like it's about the type of individual that you become, right? It's about the, the fact that you say you're going to do something, you follow through on it and you do it, right? And the individual that you become in that process, right? It's not about necessarily the money, but it's the fact that you're going to be able to wake up in the morning and do what you want to do and not be controlled by anybody else. And like that is the most important thing in this life, right? Imagine living your whole life a slave to somebody else's clock. So like, listen, dude, like if you get to 20 grand a month, that's going to be the goal. But even if we get you to 5, 6, 7, like that's still a pretty massive win from what I'm hearing from you so far, right? Right. Okay, cool. Right. Like, I don't know. I might do some of this to kind of empower them in the vision, but I usually don't just because I think that can come across as like preachy and like weird. I prefer to do it in commitment, right? Because again, it keeps that authority frame of like you're the expert, right? And you're trying to help you're trying to help your prospect. You're trying to set them up for success, right? Which is also part of a different topic, but just in general, like that's kind of the frame that I think we spoke about this on Friday, but like the frame that we should have on our sales calls is like, okay, yeah, like we're trying to close the deal, right? We're all here to get commissions and to close as many deals as possible. But like, um, if that's all that's on your mind, you're just going to be attached to the sale, and people are going to be able to sniff that out very easily, and you're not going to make any money, and it's going to work the other way, right? So it's like the way that I've always seen it is like I'm an expert here on this call, here to qualify this prospect for my program because I need to make sure if I'm going to let somebody into my program that I'm 1000% confident they're going to see results. Until I feel that way, like I'm not going to offer my program to them, right? Because I want to put them in a position where they can see success, right? The selfless intention, right? I want you to win, right? And listen, if I don't feel confident that you can win, then like that's okay. We'll just kind of wrap up the call. But the cool thing is like when you do that, people are more attracted to you and you make more sales, right? Um, again, that empowering tonality, right? See if you can adopt that. I just like we were talking about we'd lose my words here. We had a meeting the other day where we were talking about the mastermind that we're doing at the end of July. And we were just like talking about it, just kind of just like throwing ideas around, right? And like when we're talking, it's like we're excited about it. Like we're in the meeting, like getting juiced up. Someone made a comment, they were like, yo, like I feel like I'm in the boot camp right now. Right? Because it's like a genuine thing that I'm excited about talking about. Like, do you guys ever tell somebody about like a movie that was like super interesting that like blew your mind? And like you're like telling someone, you're like, yo, and then like this happened, and then that happened, and then this happened, right? And like you're excited about it, right? Or like when you read a book and you have like a transformation in your head, and then like all of a sudden you have this crazy realization in your perspective, and then you like tell your friend about it and you're like, hey, like I realized like this and this and this and that, and I realized that like all these different things are so much more possible. It's like that's what that empowering tone is, right? And it can't be faked, right? It needs to be something that's natural and authentic. And it's going to be infectious, right? That conviction is going to rub off on your prospect. And you're especially going to use this when you're dealing with someone that maybe needs it, right? You're dealing with someone who has a little bit of a lower belief, right? Someone who's struggling with some shit, right? And maybe they're not really where they want to be and they have doubts or whatever, right? And like you understand that, and then you kind of get this into you get into the empowering stuff, right? As opposed to like if I'm talking to a freaking go-getter, like if I'm talking to just a freaking A player beast, he's like, yo, Misha, listen, I get the game. I'm coachable. I'm hungry. I'm going to lock in. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to make this shit freaking happen. Right. Like I'm not going to be like, okay, man, listen, here's what I'm going to need you to do. Right. I'm going to need X, Y, because now it's just corny. If I get somebody like that, who's like ready to rock and roll, right? Like they're on it. Like they're more of a fast paced buyer, right? If I get somebody like that, like I might take the more reserved approach to maintain the control, maintain the authority on the call. Where it's like, okay, hey, love the enthusiasm, man. That's awesome. Uh, let me just be clear with you. For us to help you see the result that you want to see, this is what is going to need to happen. Um, can you actually make that happen? Like, is that going to be a problem at all? Okay, cool, perfect. Right? Like, I'll take the more reserved approach with a fast-paced buyer. With a slow-paced buyer who's a little bit nervous, doubtful, limiting beliefs, failed in the past, trust problems, whatever, I might take a little bit more of that approach to get them where I want to get them, right? Um, the empowering approach. Okay. All right. Last and final tonality with you guys. See how like we're on this crazy like emotional roller coaster. Like we're all over the place. But I would focus on like one thing at a time, right? Like every call isn't gonna be like freaking crazy ups and downs, but like it's gonna all this stuff is gonna be very subtle, right? And you guys want to like just incorporate this, right? Like add in 10% curiosity, add in 10%, empowering, right? Don't be like again, like don't be weird with it, right? Like just be yourself because yeah, like it'll be really bad if like it's not authentic, right? So I wouldn't go over the top with any of this. Last thing, last tonality. This is what I call the cold tonality. Okay. This is where we're giving our prospects the cold shoulder. What this is going to do, this is used for a couple of reasons. All right. This is going to be used to call our prospect out on certain BS and bullshit that they might be saying or be going around in their head. This is going to be used to keep authority and keep a frame on the call. And we're going to be using this. You can use this at any point in the call, to be honest. Like if something comes up where you need to bring in like a cold approach and draw a line. But mainly challenge based and objection handling, right? This is where challenge based and objection handling are probably like the two highest tension points on a call. And like we want to get good at like the best closers in the world are masters at using tension and introducing tension, right? Because this is what get our prospects to step up, right? Again, what we're talking about earlier, right? It's either going to get them to step up or fall below that, right? So the cold approach, right? For example, classic, like someone starts out the call, hey, listen, Bob, I've hopped on a bunch of calls exactly like this. Why don't we just, skip ahead here? Tell me a bit about, what you guys do, how much it costs, and I'll let you know if I want to be a part of it, right? Like if someone comes in on a call like that with that type of energy, that's like, okay, cool, Joe. First off, that's not the way that this call is going to go, right? What I'd like to do here before we get into any of that, I do want to get a bit more understanding on yourself and exactly what we're trying to accomplish here, just to make sure that I can actually help you. And if not, I'll do my best to point you in the right direction. Does that sound okay to you? Right? We're like you need a little bit of that coldness, right? Like we can't just be freaking snowflakes all the time. We can't just be like happy freaking campers, right? Sometimes you have to be able to put somebody in their place, right? And that's exactly what this is. Like you guys need to have this element to you, right? If you want to be a great communicator, if you want to be somebody who can, control situations and even like set certain boundaries, you got to be able to do this, right? So, early on in the call, right? If they're like something like that, they're trying to take a bunch of control. We're going to drop. No, that's not the way the call is going to go. What I'd like to do, right? And then we'll ease off the tension, right? And we'll be friendly and nice and cordial and respectful, but they were the one that introduced it, right? They were the one that stepped on a line, right? So you got to be able to set it, right? You know, something along the lines of like, hey, Mr. Prospect, if someone's like, hey, listen, like, I just don't know, how do I know that this is all going to work out for me? Like, blah, 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 and like this and that, and I just don't know. And then, like if they're giving you just a bunch of crap and a bunch of like limiting belief and a bunch of stuff like that in challenge, I might be like, okay, um, Joe, that mindset, like what you just said there, I think that's the exact reason why you're in the position that you're in. Right? Like shit, like it hits, right? Like it freaking it catches somebody. Someone's gonna be like, damn, like whether they agree with it or not, like they're gonna think about it for a second. And they're gonna remember it after the call, right? Like we want to have moments like this. Um, even something like, I had a dude the other day, and the entire call, I sensed it. I sensed it with this dude. The entire freaking call, he was like this, he was like a 19-year-old with way too much confidence, and I'm going through it, I'm doing my thing, keeping the authority, keeping it respectful, just keeping it G as usual. But like I could tell that there was this like, he there was something there that like he wasn't saying, he wasn't being totally real with me, right? Anyways, at the end of the call, he's like, yeah, I'm just going to think about it. I'm like, what? Because it just didn't, I qualified him so hard. I didn't want to pitch him, but like I just qualified him so hard. And I think he really wanted to hear the pitch. So I'm like, okay, let's see how this goes, right? Pitch. Um, you know, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna think about it. I'm like, what do you mean? Right. Because at that point, just the way I qualified it, it was just like, I wasn't even gonna neutralize it and be friendly about it. I was just like, dude, like, what do you mean? Yeah, just gonna take a couple days just to plan, and I'll get back to you. I was like, plan? Yeah, just gonna plan. What does that mean? Okay, let me be real with you. This is exactly what he said. And then he's like, I'm gonna be real with you. I just feel like spending spending this amount of money like on a coach, I just think I might be able to do it on my own. And I just don't think it's necessary. And like that was what I was feeling the entire call. Like that was like the thing that was there that like I just couldn't get to. It comes out at the end of the call, right? I'm like, okay, dude, for sure. I was like, hey, if you could do this on your own, like, wouldn't you have done it already? Yeah. I'm just, yeah, dude, sure. And then that's when he got weird. I was like, hey, bro, listen, right? I was like, what did I say? I wrote this down. I was like, listen, bro, let me just keep it 100% with you. 19 years old, barely getting started, telling me you want to achieve all these big goals and these big dreams. You're either going to have to drop your ego and get coachable and seek guidance, or get comfortable where you're at. And then he was like, yeah. And then whatever. And ended the call. Right. But like you need to be able to drop that sometimes, right? Um, like you need to be able to say that. Even like I hopped off that call with a smile, like I wasn't worried about it. It's like a lot of times, a long time ago, I would get prospects like that who wouldn't take it seriously and who had a weird attitude problem. And then I would like feel some kind of way, like I would feel, I would take it personally. But when you can just like implement some of this a little bit of this is just coldness, where you can drop a line, drop a bar, get 1,000% with someone, no freaking filter. Like if you can just drop that, then yeah, like I hopped off that call with a smile. It's like, okay, like this guy's either going to drop his ego at some point, or he's going to have to get comfortable where he's at, you know and yeah, I'm good. Next call, let's go find the next person who's ready to take some action, right? There needs to be, you got to be able to have this side to you, right? You got to be able to have the mean side to you, right? And even like mean, I don't even know if I call it mean, like I just call it real, right? Like sometimes you got to be able to tell somebody like straight the fuck up where they're messing up. If someone's acting weird and they have some kind of an attitude problem, I'll be like, hey bro, can I be real with you? I don't think you should take this personally, but I think one of the biggest things that's going to stop you back is your ego, bro. You know, I've seen a lot of people exactly like you, and because of that attitude problem that you have, like that's what stops you from learning anything. And if you want to try it on your own, dude, good luck. But like, it's just going to be 1,000 times harder, right? Stuff like this. You got to be able to be cold. You got to be able to sometimes draw a line. That's going to give you a lot of confidence, right? Like people aren't going to be able to step on you and walk all over you. Um, and yeah, I think a lot of the times, like it's if done correctly, right? Like people will respond well to it. If it's the right type of person, they'll respond well to it, and they'll say, hey, you know what? Like maybe, yeah, right? And then they're receptive to it. Might hurt their feelings in the moment, but if you follow that up with like you can get soft and get a little bit more, yeah, you want to follow up that if again we're trying to close, right? We're not just trying to, piss people off. We're trying to, be very direct with our prospect in a given moment. Just be super real with them. Drop it with like a tone, right? Where it's like, yeah, dude, this is it. This is why you're in the situation that you're in, bro. What you just said right there. That right there, what you just said, that's the exact thing that's going to need to change before you can ever get to where you want to go. And like I'm just being real with you, dude. Like I've just seen so many people who are in a similar spot and it's like X, Y, and Z. And even bro, like a long time ago, like I kind of had some of that too, and um it's something that kind of stuck with me. And then that's where I'll kind of soften it up a little bit, right? Um, but still you gotta have the side to you. If you don't have the side to you, then yeah, you're just going to get walked all over. And when people, start out the call with like that type of energy we were talking about earlier, yeah, listen, man, I get it. You're trying to sell me some shit. I get the game. I know how this goes. Why don't you just tell me about what you got going on? Right? A lot of people, man, I used to, I would just be like, okay, can I just ask you like two questions first and then, I'll get into it. Yeah, yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead. I was like, yeah. So it's like, what do you do? Yeah, so like I do this and that. Okay, nice. So like, what are your goals with this business? Yeah, yeah, I just want to do this and that. So like, how much does your program cost? Right, and then I'll just let them walk all over me. Right? No, never. Like that's something. If we need to end the call right there, if we just started out, and that's the kind of energy your prospect gives you, I'm willing to just end the. I'll be like, hey, no, that's not how the call is going to go. I got to understand a bit more about you. I want to understand where you're trying to go with all this. Make sure that we can help. And to be honest with you, like if you're opposed to having a 15-minute conversation, um, then maybe you're not as serious as you think you are. Right? Like shit, dude. If you're not, if you're opposed to sitting down for 30 minutes talking about how we're going to help you build an online business, like, yeah, we're probably not the right fit. We're probably not going to get along very well, dude. So all the best. Good luck. Peace. You know, Prab, anything that I say, brother, on this call, I mean, if I say, like, here's an example, like, these are all things that I've said on calls. Um, right. So yeah, right. You gotta, these are the 5 tonalities. I'm sure there's some other like fringe tonalities. I know Eli, he did a training for us a long time ago. And we have it in the course. I think that was a banger training. But this is the way that I think about tonality. These are some of the ones that I use on basically every single call. Um, so yeah, use them, guys.